Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and today I want to talk about religion. This isn't going to be a video bashing religion in any way, I just wish to talk about my own experiences with it. I think I talked about doing this video last year, but because of certain things I never actually got around to talking about it. But let's do it. Let's go into 2019 with everybody knowing about Charlie's religious preferences. And basically, I'm not religious. Yet, I appreciate people who have a religion, and I wish to talk about how I came to this point, but also wish to talk about how it's been a bit of a conflicting thing for me in terms of still celebrating Christmas. Firstly, let's talk about the religious history within my life. I just went to a normal infant school, junior school, which then became a primary school. However, each day we would pray to God. When I was a child, I accepted this. I did not know any different. I thought this was the way schools went. I knew, and I had an idea of who God was. I had an idea of these tales in the Bible, and there was this mysticism surrounding, the Bible and the stories within the Bible, that you couldn't really see them as anything but true. We had religious education, for crying out loud, and it wasn't until year 5 that I actually learned that there was anything other than Judaism and Christianity. Yes, this could have been having Charlie as a very ignorant 9-year-old, but that's about the gist of it. And one of my mum's friends at the time started taking her children to church, and it was the church that our school was associated with. So we started going to church as well. And I didn't enjoy the Sunday school aspect, so being Charlie, being a bit ignorant, he was allowed to go and just be part of the normal service. I was a very quiet, sensible child, so it didn't matter much. And my grandparents and their parents, and certainly the older relatives in my family, have always been quite religious. Indeed, I know that some of my younger relatives actually are still religious, and when I say this, I mean, they're going with the whole Church of England side of things. And yeah, I know that the really big change for me came when I was about 10 with the death of my grandfather, and at the time, all I remember is the day before he died, I'd gone into my bedroom, and you're taught that praying helps. So I prayed, and the next day he died. And so from then on, it was this thing of, well, God has just committed a bit of an unforgivable sin here, so I'm not going to believe in him anymore. And that's exactly what happened. 10-year-old Charlie just stopped believing at that point, and now we're 16 years later. And whilst there have been a few times of me questioning faith, it's never reached this point of going back to, going through the prayers. I mean, we only prayed once a week and every day at school, but it's never been something that I could ever go back into. And whilst I still appreciate everyone who's able to hold on to a faith, and I understand what a religion and what this group of people all coming together can do for a person, I don't think I'd ever be able to ingratiate myself in that sort of environment or community again. I mean, some of my best friends are Christians, and I think we have this respect for one another. Neither of us is going to try and convert the other, and that's one of my things. Like, I feel like with religion, you've got to allow people to come to it. You can't force the point. It's one of those things where you have to allow people to make their own minds up. All of this being said about religion, however, I do really like watching documentaries about Christianity. I should have just bulked this with Christianity because I don't know enough about other religions to discuss them. However, in terms of Christianity, I would like to know more about the historical Christ And I think that I do have an interest in the origins of the Bible, and I think Steve Donahue said a few years ago that modern writers should read the Bible just to see about storytelling because of how long this tale has lasted. And that is definitely something I planned to do in the past. However, and here's a great story for you, used to watch The Prince of Egypt a lot as a child, found that story of Moses the most terrifying, and last time I tried to read the Bible, which was when I was about 19, I got to Exodus and all the stuff going on there, became terrified again, promptly put the Bible down and never went back to it. See, it's this very conflicted thing in my mind that whilst I don't believe in, you know, the magic and the mysticism, and I don't believe in following religious doctrine, the history and the stories that went into creating this text and bringing followers to Christ interests me. In terms of Christmas, however, I think that it just became such a big part of my life. Christmas, as it was, you know, still there was the whole Christ thing when I was younger. There was the nativity all the time. Is it Christingles? Those oranges. We had to make those at church once. It was very much about Christ when I was a child, and then obviously I wasn't as religious anymore. And I think it all came back to Yule and the pagan celebration of Yule, which was one way as I could see myself as celebrating it, and stopping thinking about it being so much about the religious aspect and thinking of it being more about a time to come together and celebrate family and just unwind and calm down with one another and just celebrate each other. That being said, though, I still call it Christmas, and I feel I still have this conflict within me as to whether I should perhaps search for another word. It's definitely an interesting one for me. It's sometimes I've thought, would it not just be easier to just accept everything and just be completely wholeheartedly religious, just to avoid having this conflict within me of trying to find out more about this historical figure. But I just have always steered clear, and it's a topic I always avoid because it is so open for me, in that I couldn't see myself ever looking back at any sort of religion and thinking I need to follow that. But I'm interested in how religions originate. Anyway, my intention in this video was not to offend or appear ignorant, and so I hope that what I talked about here does promote discussion in the comments. I'm not going to say that I hope you enjoyed this video, but I do hope that we can talk about some of the things I've talked about here. And until next time, that is all.